Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. This will be a layout update for October 2021. Let's take a look at what's new on the layout. So this past month, most of my time was spent working on the BAMP station here. I actually got quite a bit done, so the progress has come along. I'm to the point now where I'm working on the roof digital prints, and that's pretty much it. I got the chimney to finish, the big chimney, and that's pretty much going to wrap up the station. So let's take a look at the progress here on the HO scale BAMP Canadian Pacific train station. The station physical structure is complete, save for the chimney. I still have to do a little bit of work there for the big fireplace chimney here, but for the most part the structure's done. I just got to work on some more shingle artwork for the different roof sections, and this is the first test print here. I just put this on yesterday actually, and it looks pretty good, but I think there's still some tweaking I can do to make it look even better. So this second floor of this thing was actually really time consuming, and it's kind of unexpected. I didn't think it was going to take this long to do it, but yeah, I spent the better part of this past month just working on this roof and the different pieces, getting it all done. So the complicated thing about this roof is it's got the three main peaks, and then it has this cross section that goes through the center with a little tiny peak on each end, and then it's got this decorative third peak in the middle that ties into everything, and then you end up with this weird kind of cross shape on the top. The original station didn't have, like the 1910 build of this, didn't have this middle kind of decorative roof line. This peak was added way later, and I suspect it was to protect the little balconies on each side. This was the operator's living quarters, and I suspect all the snow they get in Banff, not having that covered was probably an issue. That's just my theory, but it kind of makes sense why they would add it. You know, it actually changed the look of the station quite a bit, adding that third peak in there. The center one, that was always there, this section here that runs lengthwise through it, but these peaks were added later on. Since I'm modeling like 2009 and on, I wanted to have like the most modern version of the station, so I included those decorative peaks in my build. On the railway west end of the station, second floor, there's this cool little chimney, so I made sure to try and capture that as closely as I could. The main part of the chimney is that green MDF that I use for so many different things. The small stacks are just pieces of wire that I had left over from the SandSource build years ago. If you've been following the channel for a long time, I used those surveyor flags as downcomer spouts on the grain legs of SandSource, and I've still had a bunch of it. It's a really hard wire, but it's a good thin diameter, so I used some pieces of that, chopped it up with my Dremel. And then the big kind of decorative chimney piece there, that is a Details West spark arrestor for an SW 1500, I believe. So it's a pewter part. It's not exact to what's on the station, but it looks pretty close, and I thought it was cool. So remaining, I've got this one pretty much roughed out. So this is that green MDF that I like to use. It's kind of like a high density MDF. Using my big vertical sander, I kind of got it to pretty close to what it needs to be. It sits somewhere around there, and it's got the same masonry work as the bottom skirt of the station. The whole chimney's covered in that, so I have some good photos of it that I'm going to be able to make some pretty good looking masonry. It'll probably look similar to that, and then coat that whole thing in it. So that's pretty much everything new on the track side. Now that the eaves are on there and I'm looking at it more, I'm realizing how dark that bottom wall is on the first floor. Ironically, I had made a lighter version of it, put it on there, but without the eaves on there, it just looked too light to my eye. It looked like it needed to be darker, and I made the mistake of not waiting until the eaves was on there, because they actually cast a pretty big shadow. You know, they stick out by, I don't know, almost an inch probably, overhang there, so you get the natural shadow that's cast by the lights on the eaves there, and that ended up making it look pretty dark under there. So I think what I'm going to do, I still have a bunch of them, is get some more, cut out a few more of the lighter version that I've done, and basically just up the brightness on the imaging that I already have. See if I can't make that look just a little more realistic under there. So now I'll flip it around so we can look at the town side of the station. Alright, so here we're looking at the town side of the station, so it's just flipped 180. Fortunately, this is the more detailed side, but on the prototype it faces the town, which on my layout faces away from you. But that's just the way it is when you model prototypical east and west. So this is going to be facing the wall most of the time. You can see on this one the first floor with the eave on there, even the shadow looks good, and I think I got the brightness correct on this one. I really like this one a lot. It doesn't look too dark, and you can still see enough detail under there, and it looks shadowed like it should, but not too dark. So I like that one. That's what I'm going to try to go for on the other side when I redo that first floor. This is the side that faces the town. This is what you see when you walk up to the station, when you park and you walk up to it. The front door is down here. So the roof is the same. It's got the same third peak as the other side, but it's got this additional little awning here. And eventually I'll have to build the supports, but there's two kind of standalone supports with the same type of washed rock, and those hold up this little awning, one in each corner. Just getting down to trackside, you can see more of the detail there. I really like how the reflections turned out in these second floor windows. That looks really cool. It looks like really smooth glass, and of course you'll be able to see the large chimney from the fireplace. You can see that on the town side as well. It'll have that washed rock on this side as well. So that'll catch you guys up to date on the Banff station progress. It's getting pretty close to being done, and that'll be my main kind of focal point for the next couple weeks. Hopefully finish this thing off. I do have some pictures that I took along the way, kind of process photos showing how I did different things. I'm going to have to move my big sander, and I set it up close by my workbench, and we'll hop over there and take a look at that. But throw some pictures in here and kind of catch you up to date on some of the behind the scenes stuff of working on this station building. So jump over here to the workbench. You can see the artwork for the station roof has just taken over my whole workspace here. I had it laying on the floor. I keep talking about it, but working on this building is such a challenge because of its size. I mean, look at the size of these roof prints. And the reason I'm doing them all in one is because I don't want to have seams in the shingles on the roof, because it'd be quite obvious if you had this great big seam right through it all. So I wanted to do it in one piece. Well, guess what? That means you got to have a 48-inch long piece of roof shingles. So I actually went and got this printed at Staples because I don't have the ability on my little printer at home here to do this. So 20 bucks, and they had this done in like half an hour for me. So I've got all the roof shingles I need, and I can just cut and snip that all up, and there's enough there to do probably like 3 stations, so it should be good. All these complex roof angles, it was just too slow trying to do it with an X-Acto blade and cutting each piece and, you know, scoring it. And I finally just got fed up with it, so I moved my big sander over here. It works really good for HO scale stuff. It's perfect size, and you can also sand really long things too on this vertical belt. So I had to just move that over here, and you can see the aftermath of all those different complex angles of this thing. And not only that, but then you can get them the right shape, but then you've also got to bevel each piece, you know, so that they'll go together nice, and you don't have these huge gaps, because most of it was made with 1.5 mil styrene. So there's just a ton of scrap and waste because there's so many angles. But this made it a lot easier, just being able to find you're off by maybe 2 millimeters on one side of the angle, and you can just quickly buzz it on this thing, take it back over to the workbench, test fit it, and away you go. So the other side of the sander's got this 90-degree wheel on it, and it's got the nice handy tool here for doing angles. A lot of these pieces I made a paper template first before I made the physical piece, just to save time and try not to waste styrene if I messed it up. And I would get a paper one to fit good. Then I would take that and transfer that onto styrene and sand it or carve it or do whatever I do. And then I like to keep them, because when I get to the paper where I go to put the photo printed walls or roof pieces or whatever, I still have the piece here that I can exactly lay down on the paper and get what I need, and then I don't have to waste any time measuring stuff like that. Here's the chimney, so you can see this is a scale picture of the chimney, and then I transferred that into a template and then carved this out of wood, and you can see when it goes on there, that's what that chimney is going to look like, the one that comes from the fireplace on the BAMP station. So this is the sunlit side, there will be another sunlit side here, and then 2 shaded sides to match the shadows on the station. So that'll catch us up to today, guys. Kind of a slow month, but it is middle of October, and that means, in Canada anyway, that hobby season is coming. There is definitely going to be a desire to spend more time down in my nice warm basement. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.